school in 1980. Well, I was born in Chicago, so I grew up. Basically, it was an idealistic childhood. I had the youngest of 7 kids. The only bad thing that ever really happened was my father died when I was like 6.
Compared to now, what was your average childhood back in the 60s?
Well, it was a little different. I was the youngest of 7 kids. I have 4 older brothers, and at the time, Vietnam was going on, and there was a draft. So it was kind of, you didn't know, when your brothers were going to get drafted or called up and end up going to war.
Did any of your brothers go to war?
No, my oldest brother, Uncle Chip, he got drafted when he graduated from high school, but he was a really good baseball player, and he had hurt his shoulder in college and had a pin basically holding his shoulder together.
That's what stopped him, basically?
No, he got drafted and they actually made him go through boot camp. He couldn't lift his arm up past about there, but they made him go through boot camp, and then I think he served for 4 months, maybe 6 months, just as a clerk somewhere, and then they gave him a medical discharge. It was kind of silly that they took him at all, but he was the only one that ever actually got drafted.
How old were you at the time?
That was probably, I was probably 7.
Were you ever afraid that, once you hit 18, you might get drafted?
When I was a teenager, they didn't even have a draft anymore, and you still had to register with the Selective Service, which does the draft, but I was just, going down and putting your name in at the post office or something, as I remember. But, no, there weren't any wars going on. The, biggest thing that happened was, Grenada, and I think I was going in to a little island country, and because there were, 24 Cuban engineers down there, and it was like nothing. So, no, I didn't ever really have a fear of going to war myself.
Can you describe the neighborhood and the community? What was it like, living in that kind of community?
Well, actually, it was great. Where my school was it was only 2 blocks away. Pretty close-knit community. All the neighbors knew each other, and it was a lot of Polish, Italian, Irish community.
So it's not like what we're now, where the majority of people are kind of spread out.
Yeah, it was a pretty tight community as far as, but it was different at the time. So it was, baby boomers, post-war. A lot of kids were born at the time. And so a lot of the families just knew each other because their kids hung out together. Whereas families were having 6, 8, 10 kids at the time, and now they're having 1 or 2. Yeah. So, it makes a big difference. And
especially when economies are different.
Yeah. Back then, one income could support a family with 7 kids. The mom would stay home and run the house, and dad would go out and earn the money. And, one income would do it, and it's not really how it is anymore.
What were some hobbies that you did?
I did sports. I was big. I was kind of a jock. I played football. Wrestling was my big sport, what I was best at. I played football. I wrestled. I ran track when I was younger. I played baseball up, till the beginning of high school. And once high school started, I just played football and wrestled after that. But I did basically everything before that.
Did your mom make you, or like what got you interested in sports in general?
Probably having, older brothers that played. Like I said, my brother Chip was a really good baseball player. He got drafted by the pros on a couple of different occasions.
What do you think you like better?
Wrestling. I mean, wrestling is what I was best at. I think it's the most satisfying. I think football was most fun. I don't think wrestling, even if you're winning, is really much fun. But it's a lot of pain either way. I mean, it's just a lot of tired. You get tired, work, aching, people, beating you up, and it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But it's the most satisfying thing I've probably done.
If you knew what you knew now, would you still do it?
Yeah, definitely. Of all the things I would change in my life, that would not be one of them.
You grew up in Chicago, right?
Well, I was born in Chicago, and we moved to Iowa. I was about probably 8 or 10 years old.
So as Iowa, the majority of it's basically what you know.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Chicago after we moved. Next door to us was a Grodowski family, and they had 3 boys. One was like a year older than me, one was my age, and one was a year younger. And every summer I would go in and spend, a week or two. I'd go back and visit those guys.
What was your typical day back in middle school, high school? When you could actually do stuff. Like, what was your typical day like?
Well, during a wrestling season, I'd get up. A lot of times I'd go and work out before school, and just to kind of try to keep my weight under control. I'd work out before school, go to school all day, then I'd go to practice after school for a couple hours, go home, eat if I could, and then usually go to the Y later on that night and work out. During part of the off season, during the season, I'd probably work out 4 hours a day.
You said that you tried to keep your weight under control. Is there a point in your life where it just kind of got out of control? Like you were too much, or you were really underweight?
Yeah. I was wrestling 112, but I grew a lot.
Okay, that makes a bigger difference.
Yeah. When I was a freshman, I wrestled 105, and I had to lose 20 pounds to get to 105. And when I was wrestling 112, I probably had to lose 25 pounds to get there. But then I grew several inches.
How much is several?
Probably 4 or 5. So I was stretching it, and eventually I couldn't stay at 112 anymore.
You had to gain some weight.
I couldn't make 112 anymore, so I got kicked off of the team. My coach kicked me off the team for not making weight.
What was your typical day after that?
I was really depressed after that, actually, and there's no reason that I should have been kicked off, but my coach and I didn't see eye to eye very much. I had 3 different coaches in high school. I really liked 2 of them, but there was one that he didn't like me much, and I didn't like him much.
He wasn't the typical coach where you guys were kind of friends.
No, he didn't. He was not understanding at all. And my last coach at high school is still one of my best friends today.
What was your favorite subject other than sports?
I really like science, like biology, earth sciences.
That's where me and you are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked history a lot. Depending, I liked English, as far as literature, things like that. We're reading books, but as far as, parsing sentences and things like that. The teacher was so bad, and I took it at a different school with a different professor. He was really interesting, and I did really good in it. So a lot of it does depend on the teacher.
Do you think school has gotten better or worse since you were a child?
I don't know for sure. I think it's, some things are better probably. The technology's sure better, but I don't think it's as social a place as it was when I went there, because you actually spoke with people, not texted them. You had more personal contact with people, and I think schools are a lot more dangerous now than they were then. And the school I went to was a small Catholic school, so it's a lot different than going to you going to a large public high school that's got 3,000 people in it.
Besides sports, when you hit junior, sophomore year, when you were kind of a young adult at that point, did you have any dreams of yours?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I really wanted to continue on and wrestle in college, and when I got kicked off of wrestling my sophomore year, it really bummed me out. I went from being, an undefeated wrestler that was ranked #1 in the state to being kicked off the team. I ate a lot and got really fat, got depressed.
How much you say you gained?
I probably went up to, from 112 up to 165, 70. So
it kind of made a big difference. Do you recall any significant historical events like Vietnam that, you said, had a big impact on you?
Yeah, Vietnam was seeing, on the news the body counts every day, and there were, really big things that happened in the war. I remember the My Lai massacre was a big thing. Watergate was a big thing. People basically brought down Richard Nixon's presidency. That broke into the Democratic National Headquarters. Guys working for the president.
Is it just stuff you remember mainly, or how did it affect you?
I remember it. It made me pretty anti-war and anti-politician, and I still am, pretty much.
Do you have any historical stories Bernie Peg passed down from you?
Nothing's popping to mind right now.
Okay.
I remember one of my mom's favorite stories about me is my aunt and uncle from Iowa were coming to visit us, and when we were still in Chicago, and we were sitting on the porch when they pulled up, and I went running out to say hi to him. I was only like 2 years old. I was just a small kid. I must have been teething at the time, and my mom yells up to him, "Watch out for him, he bites," because I was teething, so I was gnawing on everything. But she thought that was really funny. Yeah, no real stories I can think of that are family lore. I mean, we had, my grandmother, her maiden name was Croak, and the Archbishop of Ireland was Archbishop Croak. He started the Gaelic Athletic League, and a big stadium in Dublin was named after him. He's supposedly a relative of ours. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. What's the biggest change in your family dynamics over the years?
The biggest change would probably be going from my mom taking care of everybody to everybody taking care of my mom. When she got older, everybody pretty much took care of her, and that, was a big role reversal for us as a family.
How did that affect you? Because I remember, I still have memories of Bernie Peg when you were an adult. How did that affect you?
Actually, I was really happy I could do it. She was such a great mom, and it couldn't have been easy for her. My two oldest brothers were in college when my dad died, but she was a single mom with 5 kids. That's not easy. And she, she was a great mom. She did a lot for all of us. And, can't say we didn't, I didn't argue with her and be a serious pain in the ass when I was a kid, but she was, she was a fantastic mom, and I was happy I had a chance to help to pay her back a little bit for all she'd done for me. Her favorite thing, which I always like to do with her, was having the family all together. But she really liked where Uncle Tom worked at, is the park that he was a park ranger at. Yeah, when the family all got together out there, she just loved it. And she just loved having her family all around her. And whenever she wanted another drink, she'd just hold up her glass and rattle her ice, and all of her boys would come running to make her a drink. But yeah, that was one of her favorite things, which it's one of my favorite things too, getting together with the family.
How did your role in your family change over time? You were used to be the youngest kid in the family. How did that change over time?
I didn't really act like an adult for a lot of the time either.
How old were you when they started to actually treat you like an adult?
Probably 30-ish. I partied a lot and drank a lot, did a lot of drugs.
What in your life actually made you start acting like an adult?
I guess I just got tired of playing around, and nothing really, no single incident. It just kind of wore thin.
You just wanted to actually get your life together.
Yeah, I just, slowly it just kind of got together, and it wasn't really a conscious decision. I just, I was kind of wore out. You can't go out and party every night. I guess you can, but, it eventually ends up killing you. You got to sleep sometime.
Going back to when you were probably 14, 15, what was your first job?
I worked at a fast food place, frying chicken. I think was my first. Well, my first jobs really were detasseling corn and walking beans.
Saying that the job you first did wasn't the first one. What do you mean by that? Was it a childhood job?
Well, it was. The first that I got paid for.
How did it feel when you first actually started making money? You probably spent a lot, obviously, every kid does, but how did it feel?
It was nice, having my own money it's just, it makes you a lot more independent. You don't have to go ask mom for money every time you want to go to a movie or go,
How did you adapt to changes in your career?
I never had computers around when I was growing up. So basically I didn't learn much about them. I only learned basically what was necessary to do my job. So, as the technology changed, I was forced to learn more stuff, like how to download pictures or, things like that.
It's kind of necessary.
Yeah, whatever was necessary to do my job, I learned, but I didn't really, otherwise I didn't, I found computers to be fairly unfriendly creatures to deal with.
At what age did you retire?
Well, I got sick, probably in my mid, I think I was 60.
So 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
How did you feel about it? Did you feel it was time, or what was your reaction to it?
Well, I couldn't do it anymore physically. I just couldn't do it.
Were you happy about it?
No, not really. I would rather be
doing stuff with right now.
Yeah. I'd rather be working than
just watching TV.
Yeah. I'd rather be able to do stuff.
If you could, if the oxygen tank wasn't on right now, what would you be doing right now?
Might be out cutting the grass, just anything out in the yard, pretty much.
Is there any advice you would give to anyone who's reaching retirement age?
Um, yeah, get your finances in order because it's a lot easier to retire if you have money.
Next question. What would you say your biggest achievements or challenges were in your life? Like throughout the whole life?
I guess my biggest achievements were, looking back on it, probably the relationships that I have. I'm really blessed to have a number of real good friends for a real long time, and also my family. The relationships that I've developed are probably the biggest accomplishment in my life that I'm most proud of. Otherwise, professionally, I mean, I just did what I did to make money. It wasn't because I really loved it or anything. The only job that I ever had that I really loved was coaching wrestling.
Oh, you coach wrestling?
Yeah, I coached. I was an assistant coach and with Uncle Terry. I was his assistant coach for a couple years in high school.
Oh, what was that like?
I found it to be very satisfying.
How do you mean?
Just, being able to help young kids develop, not only as wrestlers, but as, people, and develop, self-confidence. Just being there to help them out. A lot of kids that wrestle aren't, your all-American type kids. A lot of them are, more like street fighter types. And, just being able there to be a, kind of a good mentor and help them out with some stuff or, just give them self-confidence they needed to do some stuff or just, that's what I liked about coaching.
Are there any important life lessons you would want to pass down to the next line of Smiths?
Just work hard. If you want something, work hard for it. And be kind to people.
Anything else?
Yeah, don't be an ass.
Well, that's great. How's your perspective on life changed over the years?
Oh, dramatically. Growing up in small town Iowa, get into fights, and I'm a much more peaceful person. Growing up, I was like kind of a homophobe, which I'm sorry to say, but I've evolved out of that. Everybody seemed to be that I grew up around. Even the people that are gay now, that have come out. Guys that I knew. Yeah, hopefully I've evolved in every way since I was young. That's, growing isn't just an age thing.
I remember you said you were a bully when you were in high school.
I was.
Yeah,
a bit. I mean, I wasn't really bad. I just...
you picked on kids.
Some, yeah. And I regret that, too. And now I defend people that are getting bullied.
What kind of picking was it? Just like picking on people who were different, or like what kind was it, if you don't mind explaining?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, picking on people that, if they were different or for any reason. If I was having a bad day, didn't make any difference. Yeah, I'm embarrassed about that now. But that kind of was that way.
At least in your younger self would say, at least on you, like, you in general, like, they just walked, been walking on yourself, like, from, like, high school, kid, like, whatever, like, came through, like, they sat down, and then you sat face to face, like, what do you think that conversation would be like?
My older self would probably want to slap my younger self in the head. But, I think my younger self would think I was a an old fart that didn't know what the hell it was talking about. My old fart self would know that my younger self was an idiot, but you can't. Some things you can't teach people. You just gotta learn it through experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nah, I don't think.
No. Is there a moment in your life, like you said, for the most part, you tried to change and like your ways? Is there a moment in your life that you have been taught like compassion?
The one thing that just popped in my mind was some guy that was in line at the grocery store, or in the pharmacy, actually.
When was this?
Several years ago, maybe 10 years ago now. And these kids were there, were kind of making fun of him because he had some disease on his face was all like
The white black thing?
no, like warts kind of,
Oh,
and they were kind of making fun of this guy, and I just basically told him shut the fuck up. That it wasn't his choice, and making him feel worse about it probably wasn't a good idea. I would smack them in the head if they kept doing it. Generally, threatening to smack somebody in the head stops them.
yeah.
At least he used to. I was a little more intimidating back in the day.
Is there anything that you have been told that you actually have taken at the time?
Yeah, don't smoke.
Yeah, that's a big one. You're the reason why I'll never do smoking.
Pass that advice along to your friends.
Will do. I just think it's stupid in general.
It is.
Yeah. Any other advice you wish you'd taken when you were?
No, if I was given that much advice, a lot of orders, I don't know if there's much advice.
What do you think is the key to a long, fulfilled life?
Being around people you love that love you back. And I don't think it's money, but that helps.
Yeah.
Not being poor and where you're consumed about where your next meal's coming from helps you to evolve when you're, not stuck in a rut of, trying to find your next meal. But I'd say, yeah, be around people that you love that love you back, and you're on the road to a happy life.
With your past job as a survey, you said that you only learned pretty much what you needed for the technology and everything. You had to upload files and stuff, like data for your job. Sounds from that I'm having to learn it, and then going to pretty much now. How does that help your day to day?
I guess it makes it easier now for me to do stuff like just operate, and how to, download apps. A lot of them I just don't care to.
You don't care to learn?
Well, I just don't. I mean, I'd much rather call up and talk to a person in business.
Do you know how to, or do you just choose not to?
Well, I prefer not to, because you're at somebody's mercy then, on when they're going to deal with you. They'll decide whether to, call you back or when to call you back.
If they're having a bad day, they can decide to just, no, I'm not going to deal with you today. And then it's weeks later, oh, hi, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
What piece of modern technology do you find most useful in your daily routine? Like your phone technology? Wasn't it like high school you mentioned? You said that it was high school when you had to sign up for the quick, half hour on it or something?
Yeah. My high school had one computer for the school, and you had to sign up to, for a class period to use it. And I took a couple, programming courses in high school.
Did you think, technology was stupid back then? Or think it was cool, it's good in the future?
A little bit of both. I mean, I thought that's kind of the way it was going. The future was going that way, but I thought it was kind of stupid too. I mean, just, I'm a lot more verbally oriented person. I'd much rather talk than, but I think it's getting to be where you'll be able to talk to computers in the very near future and do everything you can do with a keyboard.
I'm curious about this. What is your take on AI? Like,
I think it's freaky. I don't think it's, I think that it's going to end up ruling the world, and killing us all, probably.
you don't.
I do.
Oh, you do think it's gonna end?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. Computers are becoming smarter than people. What do you think?
Like, personally, and you won't make fun of me or anything. Like, I don't think it's gonna become Terminator. I'm not like one of those people, but I do think like 20 years ago we didn't have like let's just say when I got half these questions up, we didn't have let's just say we didn't have a report. You have your 14 kid, you have a report on like Einstein or something like. It's not like I could just type into like a certain website. Probably worse something like that, but it's not like there was something that powerful saying. Write me a 20-page essay on Albert Einstein and how he was the greatest person ever. You know what I mean? Like, but like you just do that, time to change. I think it's probably going to evolve where like specifically have AI that can like make phone calls as your own voice. It's just freaky. I think like it will definitely, like you said, it's gonna do some horrible things, but
Yeah.
but it's not gonna like terminate it. It's not gonna go like where there's just a bunch of robots. Maybe maybe if they do something, they actually insert an actual AI into a mind that could talk and walk and everything. Maybe, but I still don't think the Terminator thing. If that makes sense, I don't.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Either way, it's your opinion. If I make fun of you, you don't make fun of me. I'll just go with that. Are there any after growing up and becoming the person you are today? Are there any new hobbies or interests that you developed later in life?
Yeah, I mean, like gardening is something I developed later in life.
And like you said, that kind of stopped when you couldn't do that anymore.
Yep.
Were you an outside person when you were younger because you had to, or was it just a choice?
Both.
Both. Movies, TV shows, from your time, do you think had the most influence on you?
Beatles, Stones, Led Zeppelin.
What about movies? Like, what's your take on that?
Well, my favorite one is probably Cool Hand Luke.
Oh yeah, I like that movie. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, we watched it in film class. I think. I think it was my second year in film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we watched it.
Know that.
Wait, no, it was the first. It was our first year. The second year we watched Jaws. Are there any TV shows that bring you good memories for you?
Yeah, I like Cheers. Liked a lot. Seinfeld. Yeah, for a couple of comedies.
You used to like read at least a little bit.
To be alive.
Would you say reading was your favorite thing?
I enjoyed reading a lot, but I was at times where like I didn't have cable TV and there were only 4 stations available.
What's your favorite genre?
Kind of historical fiction, or
Like based off true life?
kind of fact-based, but fictitious characters thrown into, a factual situation.
Well, are there any memorable journeys or traveling experiences that you've had?
Sure. The biggest 2 that come to mind are when I moved to Alaska, and then when I went to Ireland the first time. Went on a bicycle trip around Ireland.
What was that like?
That was great. I went there for 2 weeks and ended up staying for 2 months. I went there with your Aunt Patty. We were drinking one Christmas. I thought taking a bicycle trip around Ireland would be really cool. And she said, I think it would be really cool. So we ended up about 8 months later going. I think it was 98, I think.
That's like one of the most memorable times, you would say.
Yeah, I mean that was a fantastic trip. When I went to Alaska, that was a long trip, but it was great.
You said you went back to Chicago when you were a little. What was that like? What was the family that was like next door to you?
The Gronowskis.
Yeah, what was that like? Every summer.
That was great. We every year it seemed like we were kind of evolving on the same pace. We wouldn't see each other for a year, but then, all of a sudden, doing the same stuff and listening to the same music and just, it was great.
Did you feel like you were missing out back at home, or like did you just not care?
Of course, I felt like I was missing out on stuff because I wasn't from a small town. in Iowa going to Chicago, which is, felt like everybody, I think, gets bored with where they live, no matter if it's big city, small town, especially as a kid, kids are easily bored.
How did it feel being back?
It was great. We loved it. Got to see my old friends, and even if you're doing the same stuff that you were at home, it seems new because you're doing it in a new place with new people.
Is there a place that, when traveling, is there a place that brings you peace? Like, Chicago, Iowa, and Ireland, like, what place would you say brings you the most peace when you're there?
Probably Ireland.
Ireland? How many times have you been there?
Twice.
Twice? So it have to be really nice, actually, to say it brings you peace when you've only been there twice.
Yeah.
So, like, there, do you have any, still remaining memories there?
Sure. It's really pretty. There's, some mountains and stuff, which aren't as pretty when you're on a bicycle because it's really hard to ride up them. But, and, a lot of ocean, since it's, it's an island, so, it's got a lot of coast. And the people were great, is what I really liked about it. They're just really, lovely people to be around.
Did you make any friends while there?
Yeah. There was a couple of people that I stayed in touch with, but we kind of have fallen out of touch.
Was it like letters, or how did you keep in touch?
Some letters and some phone calls.
And this was back when you were probably a younger person, like 30s, 40s.
It was 98, so that would have made 37.
Going back, you said you had phone calls with people. I was like, when did you kind of lose touch with them? Like, do you remember?
I don't know. I think when I moved, I lost their address and phone number and stuff, and
you just kind of forgot what it was.
Well, I didn't ever know it. I had it written down.
Aspects of modern society do you find most inspiring or concerning?
Most inspiring, I would say that the world's a lot more inclusive. Different races and sexual orientations, just people in general. I think the world's a more accepting place now than it once was.
Yeah.
Not entirely, because there's still a bunch of psychos out there. It's kind of polarized.
What about what concerning AI?
No, I mean, the biggest concern, I think, is how people that don't like, there to be inclusion, and how bitter and violent they are about it, are more violent than ever.
So they don't like something, they'll just basically bring a gun and shoot it.
Basically, yeah.
Are there any traditions or values from your time that you believe should be brought back?
I don't know. I think parents might be trying too hard to be friends to their kids instead of being parents to them.
Do you have anything like you learned? What do you do to keep yourself busy? Like, do you just cross your pencils pretty much?
Yeah, TV.
Yeah,
that's about it.
And how do you want to be remembered by future generations? Like we didn't talk about that.
Worked hard. Was good, man.
What do you treasure most about your long-standing friendships?
Just how well you know each other, and that you can not see each other for a long time and still
can't have a friendship like you're never left.
Yeah, it falls right back into it.
How many friends would you say that out of who's that he's still there? How many friendships would you say are still there?
I'd say probably 8 or 10. I'm blessed that I have such a good group of friends.
What do you value most in friendship?
Just understanding. We understand each other, value their opinions, they value mine. I respect their opinions, even if I don't agree with them.
I understand for every guest, where you get to shout out anything, like for 10 seconds, any website, company, movie, go.
Okay, shout out to the U of I Hawkeyes. I hope you have a better football season this year.
You're dead. Okay, well, it was lovely having you. Thank you, Dad, for coming on my show. Thanks for coming on for at least an hour and a half. It was great talking.